Hey everyone, good morning, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today on the Creo Tips and Tricks webinar. Let's go through the objective and the agenda for today. So basically, we would be reviewing and demonstrating features which are available in Creo that most commonly we might forget, or we might just miss out, or we might just not use it. So here's the agenda for today. So initially I would introduce myself and PDSVISION US, and then I would go ahead and explain to you what are the couple of settings we change in our config.pro file. Then the sketcher tool, we'll talk about a little bit about the sketcher tool, and then the modeling and how we can create symbols so in the drawing. So creating symbols with the help of some image, how we can draw them and then use them as symbols as well. Then we would move into our live demo, and then we have Q&A. So you can type down those questions, and it would pop up on my end. And once we finish with the presentation, I would go ahead and answer those questions for you. So a little bit about myself. My name is Chirag Rao, and I'm the boundary system technical specialist here. So I'm based out of Dubai. And so we, as PDSVISION, we were formerly called Boundary Systems. We are the technology leader, the first global PTC preferred reseller. And we have capabilities like consulting, implementation services, professional training. We have cloud services and our help desk. Help desk is something which we pride upon. We have our own ticketing system where we take in requests from our customers, and then we help them resolve that. Little bit about our company, PDSVISION. You can see the timeline below when a boundary system was found. It was found in 2006 in Cleveland, Ohio. And then we became the preferred Windchill partners in 2009. And then we got acquired by PDSVISION Group in 2018. And since then, we are under a single umbrella, which is the PDSVISION Group. Here are some of our partners which we work with. Our most prominent one is the PTC, and we work with different partners who basically complement our PTC applications, such as the Moldex 3D, the CWCAD, the eTraj, the KeyShot, and so on. A small information about the digital thread concept. This basically tells us how communication is flowing in a manufacturing environment. As you see, the first circle, it consists of the CAD, the documentation management, the simulation. And as you grow out of this circle, everything needs to be interconnected. So the BOM management, the part classifications, the design configurator, and then we slowly grow out of these circles, and then we get to know how information flows in our department. Just a quick slide here as to how the information flows through each department. We have the three main categories, which is as designed, as built, and as maintained. As designed is where the planning and sales people come into picture. They see what are the requirements of the customers. Then it slowly moves into the design concepts, and then detailed design of the product. And then it goes into, when we move into the next category, it slowly functions into the production planning, and then we do the production where we have plant location, we have our MBOMs, and then slowly we go into maintenance, where we have our service, our delivery operations, and so on. And you can see how these sinusoidal wave slowly progresses through each of these categories. So having said that, let's just quickly jump into our live demo. So with our live demo, I would like to first start off with our command configuration. So this is something which I really find interesting, because sometimes there are a couple of licenses which our customers use, and then you have your design, you have your manufacturing, and whenever someone opens up Creo, all these licenses get acquired. So now I don't want that to happen. I just want, whenever I open Creo, I just want my manufacturing license. Say if I'm a manufacturer, I just want my NC manufacturing licenses to be acquired. So I can configure my Creo in such a way that only one licenses from my floating license gets acquired, and all the other licenses are left free. So the way I go about doing that is, so I go into my program files where my Creo directory is, where my Creo is installed, and I go inside this bin folder, which has this reconfigure button. This can be configured during installation. So even though it's not configured, you can just come back here and just reconfigure it. So I'll say reconfigure the existing licenses, and then I have my license there, and I just hit next, and then I go inside command configuration. So in this command configuration, what I've done here is, currently I have all my licenses clubbed into this parametric configuration. But say I need to add a specific only a specific license. So let's say we add manufacturing, right? So I'll say I need to add manufacturing, and then I just give it a configuration description name, because that's something which it reads, it pops up when you open Creo. So now when I do that, let me just go ahead and add my, let me just say I want to add NC Advanced. So I say I add NC Advanced and then hit install. So it goes through the process of install. And then once the install is done, so you just have one license which is being used. So let me just go ahead and close out of Creo here. And then let's go ahead and open up my Creo here. So when I open my Creo, so you can see I'm given with two options, manufacturing and Creo parametric. So say if I just want to use the manufacturing part of it, I select manufacturing and hit start. So when I hit start, the same process goes through. Your Creo parametric starts, and then your Creo window opens up. So here is my Creo window which opened up. As you can see, it's opened up. Now the question arises, okay, I've done this, but how do I know which licenses is free or which licenses is being used? So again, I go back into my Creo directory folder here, and then I search for the PDC status.batch file. So when I run this, you can see I have all these licenses which are free, and then I just hit enter. And now you can see here my NC Advanced is in use. Now, if I just had the PTC parametric command configuration set, only one set, everything would be in use. So in this stage, I do not need everything to be used. I have freed up all these things so that someone else in my department can use those licenses for their work as well. Now, I'm just not tied up here with I'm just not tied up just because I need to use NC Advanced. I'm just not tied up with all the licenses which I might not use at all. So this way I can go ahead and configure my command configuration and make sure I use only the licenses which are actually required for me. Yeah, so let's go back. And the next thing what I wanted to show is, whenever I open Creo, right, it opens up in a smaller window. It doesn't open maximized. And I also have this browser which opens up. Say I wanted to have a complete clean opening, and it's completely maximized. I do not want my browser to open every time I open Creo. That can be done through our configuration file itself. So the first thing what I'll do is, for changing this option with for removing the browser is go inside my Windows settings and uncheck this option which says expand browser use during startup. So I'll uncheck that so it doesn't open up the browser anymore. The next thing which I would do is go inside my configuration editor and add a couple of things here. So I have, you can get this list of configurations from the PTC support portal. You have the documentation, you have the description as to what value is associated with what kind of configuration is associated with what, all these things. Currently, what I need is one configuration, which is open window maximized. So you see here, it says no. I go ahead and set it to yes, and then okay. Now it goes up and adds it into my configuration here. You have two things here. You have the flash icon, that means that it gets readily applied, but you see this small computer window, that means you need a restart. And the second thing is the status here. It says it's still not applied. If it's green, it's applied, and if it's this sun icon, then it means that it has to be applied. So what I would do next is, if I hit OK, it would apply it. But before I do that, I want to export this file as well. So the way I go about doing it is just hit export and make sure I set my export window. Say I want to set my configuration here so that every time I open Creo, it opens up with this export. Okay, so once I've exported this configuration, my customized configuration, I hit OK. And then, as you know, I need a restart. So I go ahead and close this out. And then again, hit start. We'll just wait for the Creo parametric to open up. Then just bring it up here. So now you can see that the browser window is open. The reason you could not see the Creo parametric opened in full screen is because it was on my other screen. But now if I go back into my options window, now you can see those settings which has been applied. And the another thing is, now you don't see those things which has been applied. That's because it's still using the default configuration. Now I can go ahead and import this configuration, say I've saved it in configuration, and say open, and then say okay, set it to yes, and then it uses this operations. So another question here would arise is, I don't want to go back into configuration editor every single time and then import my configuration. Whenever I open Creo, I want that configuration to be pre-applied and then just open it. So the way I do this is it's simple, right? So I'll go to my desktop where I've saved this configuration. So I copy this link, and then I go ahead and hit properties on my shortcut here. And then instead of using the start end folder, which is the default public documents, I go ahead and use this start end folder. When I say apply and continue, so every time, the next time, whenever I open Creo parametric, it basically routes to this configuration pro which I have just exported and saved. So this way, I can have my customized configuration. This configuration file can be saved anywhere in your system. I would suggest to save it in documents, because this is kind of like a document and it just saves there. And then you can go ahead and start using the information there. Now, the next thing which I want to show here is, which we usually don't use, is something inside our entity display. So in our entity display, what happens is whenever we open a specific file, you see it a bit blurred, or maybe the edges are not clean. Maybe it's because of the graphics or the graphics card which we have. So what I go ahead and do here is I just change some of these settings. Say instead of having just shading, I want it with shading with edges. And then my anti-aliasing, which controls my, which basically controls my edges, clean edges of my 3D model, I can go ahead and set it to 16x. So also keep in mind that whenever you change anti-aliasing, make sure your graphic card supports it and it's able to process at 16x speed. The reason why Creo basically is it keeps it as off is because not many graphic cards are able to process it as good as some of the Quadro graphic cards. So just keep that in mind. Maybe you can just keep it to 14x. I'll just set it to 16x in my case. So I can do the same thing for text and anti-aliasing and so on. Another thing is the working directory. So I can have a default set of working directories to a specific shortcut. I can say, okay, the working directory which I have here is, again, whenever you do a fresh install of Creo, it goes to see users, public, and documents because everyone can access it. But in case you have a specific working directory where you always work, you can go ahead and do those changes here, go to that specific working directory and add that working directory there. So I say, okay, again, it goes and asks me, because I've done so many changes, it again goes and asks me where I wanted to change. And then I go ahead and change that here as well. So this also can be, the working directory can also be changed through my configuration editor, wherein I can go ahead and add something like file open default folder. So I can set this here and then maybe set it to my working directory so that whenever I click on just open, and it directly moves to my working directory here. I can go ahead and do that here or through my environment variables. What Creo Parametric have done, what PTC has done from the past couple of years is they have brought out these configuration editors which are hidden, and then just place some of the main things out here in this UI. So this is actually helpful for us, wherein most of our entities, I don't want to sit and just type in all these configuration and then set those configuration through the editor. Maybe I just want to change my working directory. Maybe I just want to change the the default geometry displays and so on. So it goes and does that. So another interesting fact here is in the entity display, when I hover my mouse over the default geometry display, it shows me it shows me a small dialog box which says display. That's basically the configuration editor's option name. So you search for display, it would still give you the same option wherein you can set it in your configuration editor itself. So you have quite a different way of doing this, and you can go ahead and add or remove, customize as per your requirements. The another thing is setting up our units and mass. Say you're working with metrics or maybe inch, or you want your mass to be, unit mass to be kilogram or pounds or ounce. Anything, you can go ahead and do those changes here. See, if this is something which you are working on both these units and you keep switching back and forth, what you can do is you can go ahead and right click on this and add to favorites. So when I go ahead and add this to favorites, what happens is at the top left where I have my favorites, I have these things added up here. Now, this would give me a better picture as to certain, better picture and options to change my unit length and mass, and most common things which I keep switching back and forth between these things. I can go ahead and do that here rather than going inside this configuration editor and changing it as well. I can go and add them as my favorites. So you can go ahead and do these things as well. And the next thing what I would actually want to show is in our sketcher. So let me just open up my Creo again. So let's close this out because this is still in the NC Advanced mode. So let's go ahead and open up the Creo Advanced, which has every single license to it. So I have this. So let's go ahead and set up my working directory. I'll say this is my working directory. And now when I hit open, let's go ahead and open up one of these sketch. So let's talk about a little bit about Sketcher and what we can do with these things. So it's a simple cube, right? So say I need to do an extrude here. Now, notice one more thing which happened right when I hit extrude. It automatically aligned itself. Basically, the 2D sketcher, it automatically aligned itself, and I did not have to hit the sketcher view. So this again is a configuration option. So you can go to configuration and use this option which says sketcher start at. So it's already added here. You can see sketcher starts 2D starts in 2D, and it's set to yes. So that means that whenever I move to my sketcher window, it basically aligns itself to the normal, and it gives me a 2D view. And I don't have to again come back here, do another click which says sketcher view. The another interesting option which I have here in the configuration editor is sketcher refit after dimension is modified. So at times what happens is, let's exit out of this, again, exit out of this. Let's create a new sketch or maybe a part. And let's sketch something here. Usually what happens is, let's say I have some big rectangle here. And then what I would do here is, I don't want this 707 as dimensions, so maybe I need 1. And when I hit 1 and enter, you see how it automatically refits the complete drawing to the zoom. It zooms it and fits it to the screen itself. So previously what we used to do is we used to change everything, and it used to become very small, and then we used to hit this refit to screen, and so that it refits everything to the screen itself. Now this can also be changed with the help of configuration editor with this configuration which says sketcher refit after dimension modify. I have set it to yes. So these are some small things which would increase our productivity and which would help us increase our main productivity here. So let's switch back to our feature requirement here, and let's a little bit talk about our feature requirements. So say I need to do an extrude here. Now here, once I'm in extrude, I have some feature requirements. I have some inspection elements here. Now for me to do that, let me just go ahead and import a sketch which I've just created, and then let's go ahead and place it right here. Let's set our scaling factor and then say, okay. Now, notice a couple of things here. Under the inspect, we have highlight open ends, which is turned on, and then we have shade closed loops also turned on. So what does this do? So this here, you can see it's highlighting that this is an open end here, and also this is an open end, and it's still not shading everything. So this is a nice inspection tool which we have. So any drawing which we import, maybe it's not complete, or maybe there is some overlaps, or maybe the lines are not linked to each other. Those kind of things, it just highlights it here so that you get this option here. Let's go ahead and clean this design out a bit. And let's see, let's delete that segment here. And let's say this and this should be a corner. And I just hit the middle mouse button here. Now, but you still see that there's something wrong here. It's still closed loop, but it's not shaded here. So I presume there's something wrong here, but I'm not sure what it is. So this is where the highlight overlap option comes into picture. So when I click on that, so it shows me that there is an overlap with the drawing here. So there are 2 lines which have been added, and that's causing something here which to not complete. Now, when I click on this and delete it, now you can see that it's shaded, and then I don't have any overlaps over this, and I can start off with the design. Now, when I hit this feature requirement button, you can see the section must contain geometric entities. The feature is the specific requirements. Both statuses are green, and they have a right check mark on it. So with this, I can go ahead and click on close, and then I can start doing my, my cut or my extrude, whatever I need from here. So let's go ahead and quickly see. Let's just go ahead and see one thing which I really like inside Creo, which I really love using it at times, which is the replace entity tool. So say I have a part, something similar to this, right? Now there comes a time where I've finished my part and I need some design changes to be done on this. So say I want to remove this edge, straight edge, and I need to add an arc. So let's go ahead and do that now. Let's go ahead and edit that extrude. Let's go ahead and edit the internal sketch which I have. Now, what happens is, ideally what we do is we just go ahead and add the curve. I'm not worried about the dimension here, but now when I click on this line and try to delete it, it says this entity is referred to another feature. The reason why it's telling me this is because there is a fillet here, and that fillet is referred to this vertical line. Now, I still want the fillet though, but I just want this line to be replaced with this arc. So what I do is I go inside operation and I have this option called replace. So I hit replace, I say, okay, this is the line which I want to replace, and this is the line which I want to replace it with. So when I click on this, the references which are there for the fillet gets transferred to this arc. Now, when I hit OK and then come back here, I still have this arc here, and then I've added this arc here. So this way I can go ahead and do those changes to the design a bit more fluidly without worrying about what it's referencing, so that even though it's referencing something, we can just go ahead and replace it with the arc, and then the reference changes to that arc as well. So this is a quick thing which I actually wanted to show. Now, having said that, let's quickly go ahead and move into our modeling aspects of Creo. So let's just exit out of all these things. Let's go ahead and erase this. And this time, let's go ahead and say, I want to do something with modeling. So first thing I would like to show here is a simple shell feature, which I believe everyone knows. I have this spoon here. I want a shell feature to be created. I go ahead and hit shell. I select the surface which needs to be removed, and I have my shell here. But notice one thing here. I don't want the shell feature to be propagated to this handle. I just want it on the scoop. Right now, I have an option here. I can go say, okay, I can exclude surfaces, but what I found was selecting surfaces individually is not something which is basically something which is time consuming, correct? It's not something which people would actually prefer to select individual surfaces. If thankfully there are not many surfaces here, but selecting individual surfaces, it's time consuming and it's frustrating at times as well. So a small tip here, wherein I select my one end, press and hold my shift button, and then select the bottom part of the scoop. So what this does is it creates a seed boundary, and anything in between that, it gets selected. So now once I've selected that, I can just say hit OK, and then that goes away. So again, I select the surface here and then the scoop surface by pressing and holding shift button, and then it just selects the entire seeded boundary, so that my selection process remains faster, and I have more time to do other things than just individually selecting each options here. Okay, so let's move into another one. Another interesting one is the copy paste one. So what I would do here is let's open up one of these copy paste features. So this is my end product, right? So this is my end product, and let's go ahead and suppress all those things. And let me just bring this up so that it's visible. So I have my drawings here, or maybe I've imported these sketches from somewhere. And a good option what here I use is the use of F11 key, which basically moves into my full screen mode. Now, I have a big real estate now to just work and concentrate on my design rather than moving here. Oh, okay, I need to navigate through my ribbon menu. I need to select some of these options, or maybe, oh, I need to see the model tree. Not always I need to see the model tree. My main focus is supposed to be on my the drawing here. I'll just exit out. I'll just clear out these things just to declutter everything. Now, let's say the first thing I do is extrude. Let's go ahead and select this one to extrude. And once I do that, I have these quick commands. I have these quick access windows which pop up right here, and then I can go ahead and use this rather than me going here and changing my depth options and so on. I can directly concentrate on my sketch here. So let's maybe change the dimension here. See, I do all these things in my screen itself, and then hit enter so that that thing is created. Now the best part is I don't have to, in case I need to extrude this, I don't have to go back to the extrude function and then start extruding. I could just say copy paste. So it copy pastes the aspects and the attributes related to the extrude, and just pops up a window where I need to select my sketch. So say I select my sketch, I change my width, maybe let's set it to 8 here, right? And then I hit enter just to exit out of that window. Let's again do the same thing again, but this time I'll use the same sketch which I'm using. In this scenario, what I would do is press and hold right click, and I want to use my remove material. Notice everything I'm doing it on the graphics interface itself, not on the ribbon menu. So let's go ahead and change this to 50 just to even it out, and then say enter. So I have this. Again, let's do the same thing. Let's do a copy paste again. This time, let's use this internal sketch and then just extend this so that it gives me a quick cut here. Or maybe during extension, what I could do is when I'm pressing and dragging this, I press and hold shift, and I just wanted to tag to this. So I can go ahead and select that, and it gets tagged to that. So say OK. Again, I say hit copy paste. And I have this internal sketch here, which again, I want to create a cut pattern here. So go ahead and create a cut pattern accordingly. So I say, okay. All these options are available for us by right clicking, and this mini toolbar pops up, and all these options can be modified through the mini toolbar. The main thing here for us is to concentrate more on the design rather than just navigating through this ribbon menu and the model tree and all those clutter things inside our Creo. So let's go ahead and click on copy and then paste again. And this time, what I would do is I'd use this, but instead of using remove material, I'll go ahead and say use thicken. So with thicken, what I would do is, let's say I don't want it this long. Let's say it's somewhere here, but I just want it on one side, variable side, and let's pull it up here, right? And let's give it some thickness, maybe 10. Yeah. And then say hit enter. So I have this. Notice one more thing here. I want this single line, which this block as a support block, which I've created for this, to be in flush with this, right? So this quick way of doing it. So I click on copy paste, and it creates a surface there, and say hit enter to confirm it, or say OK. And then just select the surface, and I have this stretch option, basically the offset option. So I hit offset, and then under the offset type, I have an option to replace. So I can get that option here as well, just by right clicking it and selecting replace. So I replace that surface with this. Now you see how my design, my support block gets flushed to this part. So all these things get slowly added up. You see how we created a surface, and then how we created it as an offset, and then it got solidified, and then it extended to this surface. So this is a quick way wherein I can go ahead and just take advantage of the mini toolbar and the right click menu, and then just work on my design and take it further. So let's exit out of our full screen mode, and then let's quickly look at something else as well. Okay, so a small thing here, which talks about the extrude function and how I can use the shift command to just snap it to this surface rather than going to the depth option and selecting my reference option there. So let's say extrude. Let's say I want to extrude this. Now I select this dragger, press and hold shift, and then just snap onto the surface. So you can see how it gets snapped onto the surface, and you can see the item which gets changed here as well to reference. So I did not go to the depth option and change it. I just press and hold the shift button and then selected the surface where it needs to step in. So it's a good option to use. I mean, it's a good trick to use if you are more keyboard intensive. But yet again, you have option in your menu toolbar to use that as well. Let's jump into the next one, which is rib. Rib is a good feature with the plastic mold and in your plastic mold. So for creation of ribs, you have two types. One is the profile rib and the trajectory rib. So let's quickly look at one of this, which is the profile rib. Let me just open up the my planes, and then let's quickly go ahead and draw something here. Before I do that, let's go ahead and add some references. You see, it still says fully placed. Let's go ahead and add these two as my references for the sketch. And now it says unresolved. And I go ahead and hit update sketch so that it's fully placed. So now I hit the line, and then let's go ahead and create a small line here, right? So I have these open-ended curves. I'm not closing this out. Ribs can be created by having two open-ended edges. So I can say, okay, and now you see the rib gets created. Now what happens here is, what is interesting here is when I extend this rib, you see how it gets basically the rib gets enveloped with this cylinder here. And it's always nice to see that I can change the width of this rib, not too much though, but I can change the width of this rib and it still maintains this curvature on the rib. So this is something interesting if you are in die and mold and you want to, injection molding, you want to use this feature to create. And another best option inside is you can create it as a, you can have you can edit the internal sketch. Again, the internal sketch is inside the profile rib itself. You can flip the direction if you need to. All those things can be changed here itself. Yeah. So that's some small tip which I can say has been helpful while doing some rib options and a couple of other options as well. Now let's quickly jump to the last one, and then we would be open to the Q&A. So the last one, which is quite interesting, which I can say I really liked it. I actually recently found out that you could do that. So let's say I'm in drawing mode, right? I'll use the default template. I'll use empty ones. Let's see. Okay, so I'm in drawing mode. And every time when we are in drawing mode, we have our information panel here where it tells you what kind of drawing it is, what kind of customer it is for, which company has designed it, and so on. But for designing that, we need a logo, correct? So sometimes we have a picture of the logo and we cannot, just bring in the picture here and then resize it and use it. Sometimes I want to use that picture to create a symbol so that I can use it in different drawings which I have. So I have a quick tip here wherein you can bring in the image, trace out the drawing, and then go ahead and use that drawing to create a symbol. Let's go ahead and see how we can do that. So first thing I go ahead and do it is just click on image. I'll go ahead and import my image. So let's go back to my working directory here, and let's use one logo which I have. I have this logo which says neat, because it is neat. So let me just fit that to my page here so that I can start working on it. And then I just set the transparency of this background to be the same as my background image, background color. Let's see, okay. And then I have this image set here, right? Now I can go inside Sketch and start zooming in here and start drawing my sketch here. Let's quickly go ahead and draw this. I can even give out dimensions and then make sure it's the image dimensions are exactly how I need. I can go ahead and do that as well. So I'm just tracing over these images. So I can just say, okay, let's go ahead and quickly do this. And let's go ahead and add this up here. Yeah. So the nice part is, if in case I miss something, I can just zoom into that specific part and start adding those lines. Let's first finish up wherever the vertical lines and horizontal lines are required, and then move into the arcs where we need. So let's go ahead and do that. And I understand it's initially it's a bit frustrating when you try to do these drawings and you feel, oh, there's so much to be done here, and it's quite difficult. But once you have the design inside your symbol, it's always easier for us to work with it. So I hope I've drawn all the vertical lines. Maybe I missed one here. So let's go ahead and zoom in and then just approximate this area here. Right now, let's go ahead and add some arcs, which is required. Let's say from here to here, I need an arc to be added. Let's just zoom in so that it snaps here. And then let's go ahead and add another arc, which is here. Let's say we'll snap it to this. Then let's do the same thing for this here, and the same thing for this here. And also let's go ahead and do that here as well. So make sure these lines are covered so that whenever whenever you are trying to do hashing inside this or coloring inside this, make sure everything is closed. So let's go ahead and snap onto this, and then let's approximate this point, and let's say this point, and then click on this. Again, I'll use an arc here, these 2 points, and this as well. I think I need an arc here. So let's go ahead and add an arc here as well. So let's say this one. I know it's not exactly exact to the required specifications, but it's close enough for me now. Let's see if we have a line here, and then let's close this out. So once I have this, I want to check if everything is closed. What I do is go back inside my layout and click on my image and just hide it, just to see if everything is completed. I see one arc is not completed. I just go back to my sketch here, and then just quickly go ahead and complete this arc here, right? So now what I can do is go back to my layer again, just go ahead and layout again, and then hide this just to make sure everything is complete and everything seems to be perfectly fine. Now, what I'll do here is now I need to add some colors, correct? So go inside my sketch again, just select these 2 options, and my hatch option opens up. So doesn't matter what name it is, I'll go inside colors. Let's say this is the one I want to use, and I want to fill this. So I have that color, which is perfect. And then for the remaining, I want a gray tint to it. So maybe I'll go ahead and select. Again, I can create my own user defined if I know the RGB, or I can use the color wheel to, change the color. But most of my color, which is here, I believe are here itself. So I can go ahead and say fill, and I can say done. So I have my drawing created here. I have my drawing, which I can use it as a symbol. Now, to create a symbol, I go inside my annotate tab, and under annotations, I have something called the define symbol. So when I click on define symbol, I find a couple of options here. So I can change my symbol directory, or I can keep it default and it just pops up from there. Say in case I want to change my symbol directory, I go back to the region where I want to save my symbol directory. Let's say I want to save it here, and then I'll say define. So when I say define, let's say it's called neat one maybe. It's the name of the symbol which I'm creating. I'd say okay, and then my symbol definition page opens up. This time, what I would do is in my symbol edit option, I have an option to copy the drawing. So I can go ahead and click on copy drawing and select the region of my drawing, and then it gets copied here. Now, the next thing which I want to do is change a couple of things in my attributes, because I want this drawing to be free. I can move it around and I can scale it as per my requirement. So I'll go to attributes, and here I would say the placement, I'll allow it to be free. Let's say maybe this is my center point of the placement. And then when we talk about symbol instances and heights, I can go ahead and say, use that as a variable drawing units. And I'd say, okay, that's done. My drawing is created. My symbol is created. The next thing which I want to do is say, once I've created the symbol, I want my colleagues to use it as well, right? So I want this to be on my system and I can just send them via email and they can start using it. So I have an option to write it here. When I click on write, you see the directory which it's pointing to. If you remember, I changed my symbol directory initially so that it uses the directory which I am working with. Or if you know the directory, you can sit here and type in those directories and then use that directory as well. I just hit accept value and then it gets written and say done. Now, once the symbol is created, what I can do is hit symbol option, and under symbol, I can say browse symbol. I can open my symbol, whichever symbol is required. Currently, it's just bringing it up because that's the symbol which I created. Or I can see that in my gallery, wherein it has a name called user symbols, and it saves up in my gallery as well. So I can use this symbol to do all the changes which is required. Let's say I want to place it somewhere here, and then I just change the height maybe as my requirement. So this is helpful when you have a drawing. Let's use a formatted drawing itself. Let's say empty with format. Let's browse for a default format, which is A. And say I have this image, I have this empty format here. Now I can go to annotate again, use my symbol, go to my gallery and select my symbol here, and then just place it here and then change my height of my symbol. Maybe that's not enough. Let's say 0.5, and then use the symbol to be placed here. And that can be my company logo, anything which you want here. So it's as simple as that. We use symbol to create symbol if you have just the, the image file which you can use. So I feel that's quite interesting, where we can create our own symbols and keep them saved to a specific account. And yeah, go ahead and use that accordingly. So when I just left click on this, you can see the colors which shows up there. So this is the end of the demonstrations, and I am open to questions. You can just type in the questions in the questions window if you have. Just a quick thing about our training capabilities. We do virtual and on-site training as well. So our webinar topics are presented by all certified trainers. In case if you do have more questions regarding the sales and any technical questions, you can still write to me. And the sales questions you can write to sales@pdsvision.us. This webinar is also recorded, just so you know, and it's on our YouTube page as well, in case if you want to go back and revisit this, so that you can revisit it and watch some of these again. We have other webinars which are also on our YouTube channel. You can just go and browse through them and just send us questions if you have. I'm going to mute myself and just wait for some of the questions here. If you have, I'm open. Okay, guys, I don't see any questions coming through. If you do have questions in the future, or if you have some other queries which you want to ask, you can send out an email to me. As you can see here, I have my email ID on your screen if you want to take a screenshot of it. Or if you have sales questions, you can just email to our sales department, which is sales@pdsvision.us. And if you would like to revisit our webinar, which we just presented, it would be on our YouTube page. You can just search for PDSVISION, and you can view other webinars which are there as well. Just make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. That would really help us out as well. Okay, then, if there are no questions, thank you guys. Thank you for attending, and do really appreciate your time, and have a great day as well.